Good evening and welcome. You are watching Primetime News on TV1. Bringing you the news, I'm Tharusha Kumar Singha. Let's take a look at your headlines for tonight.
News First headlines. Main sponsor.
Valuable Finance, best finance company.
Cardinal Malcolm Ranjit says he will go to the international community in search of justice if the Prime Minister goes to meet the Pope regarding the Easter Sunday attacks. Prime Minister will not meet the Pope during his tour of Italy, a statement from the government. Venerable Muruttetwe Anandathera dissatisfied about the conduct of the government. Another specialist doctor resigns from the Health Ministry Advisory Committee on Communicable Diseases. Colombo Additional Magistrate issues an order to release 13 tamed elephants taken into the custody by the CID to their original owners.
News First headlines. Main sponsor.
Valuable Finance, best finance company.
In your lead story this evening, Archbishop of Colombo, His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit expressed his views on the revelations made at the cabinet meeting yesterday, which surprised the people of Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa's proposed tour to the Vatican. Now, in a cabinet meeting held yesterday, Joint Cabinet spokesperson Minister Ramesh Patirana said that the April 21st attack and its developments will be a topic of discussion during Prime Minister's visit to the Vatican.
අග්‍රාමාත්‍යවරයා මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ සහ ගරු විදේශ කටයුතු අමාත්‍ය ජී.එල්. පීරිස් මහතා ඉතාලිය බලා පිටත් වීමට යෑමක් පිළිබඳව තොරතුරු වාර්තා වෙනවා. දැනගන්නට කැමති කාරණය තමයි මේ යන්නේ පාස්කු ප්‍රහාරය පිළිබඳව
මේ ද්විපාර්ශ්වීය සම්බන්ධතා.
The visit is being made to tighten the bilateral relations between the two countries and for many other reasons. But the April 21st attack and its latest developments will be discussed during the visit as well.
We condemn unequivocally this attempt of the government to try to go to the international community and try to fool them with their sweet talk. And then also to go to see His Holiness the Pope and try to mislead him. The government wants to go to the international community to solve problems. We have no other option but to ourselves condemn this move. Since this is a very secret plan that is being hatched by the government to try to undermine truth and try to get international sympathy for their inaction, for they are trying to hide the facts, for they are trying to manipulate the entire events surrounding the Easter attacks, that we are forced to give this press conference today. Our letter to the President, dated the 12th July, outlined several pieces of information, but those aspects have not been investigated. Therefore, we feel that this is a tailor-made kind of investigation just to put a blame on somebody and then finish it off.
We had presented facts to the Pontifical Council for Justice and Peace on this matter. They reached out to me saying that they are ready to present this to the United Nations Human Rights Council through their representatives in Geneva. Now we will have to wait until they present the facts to Geneva. There is a corrupt political mechanism that was developed through the years. Now that corrupt mechanism has been strengthened by vesting all the power onto one person. We have a suspicion whether this government will provide a fair answer to this issue. Uncovering the truth behind the April 21st attacks is equal to carrying out a litmus test on the role of law of our country. Even if people from their own party have committed a crime here, it is imperative that those individuals are punished for their crimes in a court of law. That is what we expect from honest political leaders. People with a backbone will not go to the international community to ensure their own safety and wait in hiding until the international community helps them. That is childish and not smart.
එකයි අපි අවංක දේශපාලන නායකයන්ගෙන් බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ. තමන්ව ආරක්ෂා කරගන්න ජාත්‍යන්තරයට ගිහිල්ලා ජාත්‍යන්තරයේ උදව්ව ඉල්ලගෙන හැංගිලා යන්න බලන එක නෙමෙයි පිටකොන්ද තියෙන මිනිස්සු කරන්නේ. මේ ජාත්‍යන්තරයට යෑම ඉතාමත්ම බාල බොළඳ වැඩක්. The former Attorney General Mr. Dappula Dilivera, he made a statement to a Newsfirst journalist called Sulfik Farsan that this was a grand conspiracy.
What was said on political stages when this president came into power? One country, one law. There is one country, but there is one law for you and another for us.
We are very sad about this approach to try and go and fool the international community, and the Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister doing that is a serious lack of maturity in deciding on what is to be done.
It was not us who approached the international community. It was you. Remember that.
වර්තමාන ආණ්ඩුව හොඳ නැහැ කිව්වට ඔබ වහන්සේලා මේ ආණ්ඩුව ගේන්නත් හොඳ ගතිගුණ මේ හොඳ වර්ණනා කරපු කාලයක් තිබ්බනේ. ඇයි මේ තත්ත්වෙට වැටුනේ?
මෙහෙමයි වුණේ ඒක. එදා පාස්කු ප්‍රහාරය සිදු වුණ වෙලාවේ
We criticized the previous regime because they did not take action to prevent this attack, nor took action to arrest the culprits. Against the backdrop of us criticizing the previous government, if someone thinks that we were praising others, that is a wrong interpretation.
අනිත් අය හිතුවනම් අපි මේ ඊළඟ රජයට සහයෝගය දුන්නා කියලා ඒක වැරදි අර්ථකථනයක් දීමක්.
Sri Lanka's foreign ministry said the Prime Minister has not requested nor has he received an invitation to visit the Vatican for an audience with His Holiness the Pope. It said that the Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister will shortly make a visit to Italy to participate in an international event which is to be graced by the Prime Minister of Italy and other dignitaries from Italy and other European countries. The Foreign Minister at his briefing conducted on Monday the 6th of September clearly described the purpose of the scheduled visit. The Prime Minister of Sri Lanka is scheduled to deliver the keynote address at the opening session of the International Symposium, which will be held in one of Europe's oldest seats of learning, the University of Bologna.
Meanwhile, the Deputy Director General of Health Services, Dr. Hemantha Herath, says that if the country is to reopen next Monday, it would be appropriate to prepare a suitable plan and announce it to the public beforehand. The Deputy Director General of Health Services stated this while participating in a media briefing held in Colombo today.
If the country is to reopen on Monday, plans need to be made as how the daily economic and social operations will be carried out by the relevant authorities. If these plans are made and announced, then we can conclude that it is favorable to reopen the country. If not, reopening the country would only lead to more trouble. It also affects the decisions taken to reopen the country. If the country is reopened at any given time, the necessary plans should be implemented by the respective sectors to prevent the spread of the disease while the socio-economic activities are being carried out in the country. We express our opinion of the Ministry of Health. No one has informed us that the Ministry of Health has decided on this statement. No such decision was taken at any meeting that I was present at. There is indeed a port in Hambantota. There is a port in Colombo as well. It is after considering the target populations in these areas that the decision was made to give the first dose of these vaccines to Mana. That statement was said to be made by the chairman of the Pharmaceuticals Corporation. So there is no issue in him expressing this. He might have been present at a meeting where that decision was taken. If he says that these matters were taken into consideration, we will not deny that, because we take into consideration all of these matters when we make these decisions.
Why are specialist doctors resigning from the Health Ministry's Advisory Committee on Communicable Diseases? Specialist Dr. Ashok Gunaratne resigned from the Health Ministry's Advisory Committee on Communicable Diseases, or the ACCD. Dr. Ashok Gunaratne said that he resigned from the Health Ministry's Advisory Committee on Communicable Diseases as he felt that his presence in the committee serves no purpose. Specialist Dr. Ananda Vijay Vikrama also resigned from the same committee yesterday. The Advisory Committee on Communicable Diseases was established to submit recommendations on how to control the spread of COVID-19 to the Director General of Health Services and the Secretary to the Ministry of Health. When the first outbreak began, the committee functioned efficiently, and the introduction of quarantine procedures and intermediate treatment centers were some of the notable recommendations made by the Advisory Committee. The committee included representatives from specialist medical organizations alongside the Director General of Health Services, Deputy Director General of Health Services and senior members of the Ministry of Health. Several representatives of this committee confirmed that many recommendations of the committee are currently not being implemented. They specifically pointed out that the recommendations made by the committee on groups that should be prioritized were disregarded. These members of the committee added that the committee had not met for a month. The Government Medical Officers Association had previously withdrawn from the committee.
ටික දවසක කලින් වෛද්‍ය ආනන්ද විජේවීර මහත්මයා ඉන්නවා. ඒ වගේම අද වාර්තා කරනවා වෛද්‍ය අශෝක ගුණරත්න මහත්මයා ඊයේ ඉලාස් වුණා කියලා. ඇයි මෙහෙම වෙන්නේ? ඇයි එතුමා තයින් වුණේ මෙහෙම?
අපි එතුමන්ලාගේ ඒ විද්වත් තීරණවලට අපි ගරු කරනවා කියනවා. මේ කමිටුවලට ඉතින් ඉල්ලාස් වෙන්නේ නැතුව අපිත් එක්ක මේ අවශ්‍ය කරන නිර්දේශ ලබා ගැනීමට තමන්ගේ තියෙන පළපුරුද්ද සහ ඒ දැනුම ලබා දෙන්න කියලා.
ඒ රෙකමෙන්ඩේෂන් ක්‍රියාත්මක නොකරන පුද්ගලයන් මේ සෞඛ්‍ය අමාත්‍යාංශය හෝ මේ පාලනාධිකාරිය තුල හෝ මේ රාජ්‍ය තුල හෝ ඉන්නවද?
ඒ ව්‍යවස්ථාපිත බලතල තියෙන අයට තමයි තීරණ ගැනීමේ අයිතිය තියෙන්නේ. ඒ අනුව තමයි නිර්දේශයක් කිරීමේ අයිතිය ඒ කණ්ඩායම් වලට තියෙනවා. තීරණ ගැනීම ඒ අදාළ ව්‍යවස්ථාපිත බලතල තියෙන අයටයි මේ තියෙන්නේ.
ඇත්තෙන් එක පැත්තකින් අපිට හිතෙනවා මේක ආණ්ඩුවක්ද එහෙම නැත්නම් සෙල්ලමක්ද සෙල්ලම් ආණ්ඩුවක්ද තිබ්බෝල ගන්න වැඩක් මේ කරන්නේ නැති ඒවා දානවා.
The people who do not have anything are suffering. There is no sugar. The government is purchasing sugar for money and then distributing it. If the government is purchasing this for money, then it would have been the government who hid it in the first place. In our country, the stable is closed after the horse has bolted. Can emergency regulations be used to control COVID-19 in the country?
අද මේ වැඩ කරන්නේ ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂ ජනාධිපතිතුමාද එහෙම නැත්නම් නන්දසේන රාජපක්ෂ මහත්මයාද කියලා අපට අහන්න වෙලා තිබෙනවා.
We have to ask whether it is Gotabaya Rajapaksa or Nandathena Rajapaksa who is working now. We can see that the president is doing the same things that the defense secretary did. None of the parliamentarians who simply want to score brownie points would ever say these things to your face. Some ministers of the government who were vehemently against emergency regulations have now changed their stance. I would like to ask these ministers to speak without any fear. If you lose your seat once, you may get 10 other seats instead. If a general election or a provincial council election is held in the future, you will be able to see where the people stand. Members of the COVID-19 committee are resigning on a daily basis. People with self-respect are resigning. The circular that is issued in the morning is changed in the evening. There are a group of specialists who have nothing in their heads and are only speaking for their benefit. This cannot be done if you surround yourself with them. The COVID-19 pandemic will continue to grow if learned specialists continue to distance themselves from the authorities. I am speaking to Gotabaya Rajapaksa and not Nandasena Rajapaksa. Change your path.
නන්දසේන රාජපක්ෂ නෙමෙයි. ඒක හොඳට මතක තියාගන්න. ගමන් මාර්ගය ටිකක් වෙනස් කරන්න.
හම්බන්තොටට පයිසා එන්නත ලබා දෙන්න යනවා කියලා කතාබහක් තියෙනවා.
ඒක අත්වාදෙන් කියනවා නම් ඒක මන්ද කාවුරු හිතාමතා
I wonder if this was something done to get into the good graces of the president or Namal Rajapaksa. They do not do things to get into the good books of the prime minister, but they should have given this to everyone. Now they are saying that this was done because the port and the airport is located in Hambantota. There are ports in Colombo as well. Why is the Chinese vaccine being given to Colombo and the Pfizer vaccine being given to Hambantota? I believe that there is a conspiracy, a mystery or an action done to score some points.
ඇයි හම්බන්තොට පයිසා එක දෙන්නේ? මේක අපි රහපක් හරි කුමන්ත්‍රණයක් හරි ලකුණු දමා ගන්න එකම තියෙනවා කියන එකයි මට පේන්නේ.
The CEO of the private company that operated the NMRA database has been arrested by the Criminal Investigation Department. The arrest was made over the recent data wipe of the NMRA.
The data scam.
The investigations into the data wipe of the information of the NMRA that was stored on the Lanka government cloud is being conducted by the Criminal Investigations Department. While the investigations are ongoing, a group of backbench MPs of the government visited the NMRA to inquire into the matter. What are these parliamentarians saying?
They
clearly said that all of the documentation on equipment and medicine that was brought after the COVID-19 pandemic hit was done manually and not through an online system. So none of that data has been lost. All of that data is available. So the allegations leveled against the government on that matter are completely false. The chairman and the CEO, they were not people appointed by us, but by the previous regime, and they too accepted it. Also, the company involved in collecting data for this, they said that some data was collected manually and some data was collected online. They said that they can match this data in the future. If there has been some mistake, none of us will try to hide it. We went to inquire into whether there was any fraud here and if the government was involved in it. We are very happy to confirm that there is nothing like that. The data was wiped on the 9th of August. What is the progress of the investigation since then? Also, what are the MPs of the Pohottuwa party saying about this after holding a meeting? They are saying that although the data on the cloud was deleted, data related to COVID-19 have not been deleted. They said that those details have been written down on paper. What lies are these? This data wipe is a serious issue. It is an even more serious issue to claim that there was no data wipe after the data wipe has clearly taken place. They are trying to change this data the way they want. The issue here is that the company managing the data of the NMRA is the same company managing the data of the EPF. In a few days, they will come out and say that the data of the EPF has also been wiped clean. What can we do then? Losing the backup of this data does not happen usually because the company involved in this is the company that won the award for the best computer company. A system audit must be conducted every year. During that audit, it would have revealed that there was no backup for this data. What did this government do in 2020 and this year? There should be also a disaster recovery contingency plan. If something like this happens, the disaster recovery contingency plan comes into effect automatically. That will fix the system. There was nothing like that. This is not something that can be deleted after someone mistakenly hits a button. This is something that was done intentionally. Deleting this information is as hard as creating this system. So anyone can have a suspicion whether this was done intentionally by someone to delete the information. There need to be a complete investigation into this matter. Do not point the finger at us for no reason. International tenders can be called and all of these can be brought down at a very low cost through the State Pharmaceutical Corporation and then distributed among the public. When that can be done, this government is using companies close to the government for doing this. This is the medicine mafia. There is a huge scam taking place here with the deletion of the data of the NMRA.
Will the governor of the central bank change? Stay tuned to find out right after this short.
Valuable Finance, best finance company.
Bellboy's got you covered. Download Bellboy today to get all your household appliance fixing and repairs done. Now available on Android and iOS.
Welcome back to the news. The Commissioner General of Essential Services inspected the large-scale paddy mills in the Polonnaruwa district with the officials of the Consumer Affairs Authority.
Chairman of the Consumer Affairs Authority, retired Major General Shanta Disanayaka, and the Polonnaruwa District Secretary joined in the inspections along with the Commissioner General of Essential Services, Major General Senarat Nyunhella. When officials arrived to inspect the rice mill owned by businessman Dudley Sirisena, a group including the Mahasangha and farmers had gathered at the location.
There is no point in providing this for a low cost. What are the prices of canned fish and green chilies? Are there no mafias in other sectors? You can allow the sale of drugs in the country. We will not allow this to be sold at the ceiling price.
Police officers arrived and quelled the situation and dispersed the group. Meanwhile, the Commissioner General of Essential Services and his team inspected another large-scale rice mill in Polonnaruwa. During this inspection, a stock of over 500,000 kilograms of rice was purchased at the guaranteed price. The Commissioner General of Essential Services and his entourage took the purchased stocks of rice at the guaranteed prices to be sold through Satosa branches throughout the island. Meanwhile, officials of the Consumer Affairs Authority and the Office of the Commissioner of Essential Services today took steps to raid sugar stores in several other areas. A stock of sugar of nearly 18,500 metric tons stored at a warehouse in Paliagoda was found today. Officers who inspected another sugar store in the Paliagoda area had collected 1,300 metric tons at the time of sealing it. Officials today inspected another sugar warehouse in the Vattala Marbol area which had stored 1,800 metric tons of sugar. The program to distribute these stocks of sugar to the consumers through Satosa will be implemented in the future. Meanwhile, it was revealed today that 320 metric tons of sugar has gone missing from a sealed warehouse in the Ederamulla area in Vattala. On the 3rd of this month, the Consumer Affairs Authority seized 4,100 metric tons of sugar stored in this warehouse. Officers from the Police Special Task Force, the Consumer Affairs Authority and the Office of the Commissioner General of Essential Services inspected the site again today. Following the investigations, STF officers handed over 2 warehouse keepers and a lorry driver to the Kadawatha police. The warehouse has been resealed and a special investigation has been launched.
ඇයි ඔය පාරිභෝගික සම්බන්ධ කටයුතුදී ස්ථාවර ක්‍රමවේදයක් හදන්නේ නැතුව මේක හදිසි නීතියක් කියන තරගේ
වෙලෙන්දන් කරන කුපාඩිකම්
Strict laws are needed to stop the swindling of traders. If we take a knife, we can take it to cut cheese, cut cake or slit a throat.
ඒජු කපන්නත් පුළුවන්, චීස් කපන්නත් පුළුවන්, පිහින් සමහර බෙල්ල කපන්නත් පුළුවන්.
ඒකට හොරාගේ බඩු අරගෙන හොරාගෙම සල්ලි දීලා ගන්න ක්‍රමවේදයක් නේද මේකෙන් වෙන්නේ?
නෑ මේකෙදී දැන් හොරා ළඟ තිබුණා නම්
If it was with the thieves and if they had hidden it, they would have sold it at 240. They would be earning supernormal profits, but now we are selling these at the normal prices.
124 මිලට තමයි දෙන්නේ.
We would like to confiscate the goods. However, the President's decision is based on ensuring they do not repeat these actions and they be given the amount they spent into importing the goods. In that case, proposals have been made to confiscate the property of the large mill owners too. If not, this law is now being implemented to acquire them.
Scarecrows were used in a demonstration staged by farmers in Buruthagashandia, Kaudula, demanding a proper price for their paddy. The farmers requested the government to set at least a price of 60 rupees per kilogram of paddy.
वी किलो එක හමාරක් යනවා හාල් කිලෝ එකක් නිෂ්පාදනය කරන්න. එතකොට රුපියල් 60ට හාල් ගත්තත් 30යි 90යි යන්නේ. එතකොට රුපියල් 10ක් මෝල් හිමියට මොනවද? එතකොට රුපියල් 100ට 98ට වී දෙන්න පුළුවන් කියන එකයි අපේ අදහස. අහස උසට බඩු මිල ගණන් ගිහිල්ලා. අපි මේ මහ පොළොවත් එක්ක හැප්පිලා මේ ජීවත් වෙන්නේ මෙච්චර කාලයක් ජීවත් උනේ. එයි අපේ ජීවිතේ උදුරා ගන්නේ.
Several factors have led to the current economic crisis in Sri Lanka. The tourism industry, which represents over 10% of the country's gross domestic product and brings in foreign exchange, has been hit hard by the pandemic. As a result, forex reserves have dropped from over $7.5 billion in 2019 to around $2.8 billion in July this year. With the supply of foreign exchange drying up, the amount of money that Sri Lankans have had to shell out to purchase the foreign exchange necessary to import goods has risen. So the value of the Sri Lankan rupee has depreciated by around 8% so far this year. It has to be noted that the country depends heavily on imports to meet even its basic food supplies. So the price of food items has risen in tandem with the depreciating rupee. Exports, worker remittances and tourism earnings have been the main sources of foreign exchange to Sri Lanka for several decades. While exports and worker remittances have improved in recent months, even amidst the worldwide COVID pandemic, the pandemic has severely affected the tourism sector, depriving Sri Lanka of more than $4 billion of forex income on a year-on-year basis. During the first 6 months of 2021, exports showed significant growth of 29% compared to last year's first half. From January to June, exports grew to $5.7 billion from $4.4 billion in the corresponding period last year. According to the EDB, in July, Sri Lanka recorded its highest ever monthly export income of $1.1 billion. The other major source of forex income, worker remittances, also grew by 11% in the first half of 2021 to $3.3 billion compared to $2.98 billion in the first half of last year. However, imports also increased during the first half of this year, leading to a higher trade deficit, one of the main factors that intensified Sri Lanka's forex shortage. During the first 6 months of 2021, imports increased by 30% to $10 billion from $7.6 billion in the corresponding period last year, widening the trade deficit by 32%. The drop in US dollar conversions to rupees is another reason that has exacerbated the forex shortage. According to central bank data, despite the growth in the beginning, worker remittances showed a declining trend during June and July this year. The central bank attributed this drop to the deviations in exchange rates in the formal and informal markets. This matter was highlighted at the monetary policy brief in August. Despite the recent growth in export income, economists and industry stakeholders claim that the central bank's ceiling on foreign currency rates will demotivate exporters to convert their dollar deposits to rupees. It is against this backdrop that the central bank requested all banking institutions to maintain the rupee between 200 and 203 per US dollar. In a statement issued to the heads of all licensed commercial banks and National Savings Bank, the central bank said that excessive speculative behavior was observed among certain market participants, bringing in more pressure on the value of Sri Lanka's currency. Former Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Dr. W.A. Vijayawardena, tweeted that the move by the central bank to set the dollar at 203 rupees amounts to fixing a maximum retail price on the dollar. He adds that the experience from Myanmar in 2012 shows that such measures caused the black market rate of the US dollar to rise.
Will the governor of the central bank change?
ඔබතුමාගේ නැවත ආගමනයක් තියනවද? ඒ කියන්නේ මහා බැංකුව පැත්තට යන්න ආගමනයක් තියනවා වගේ.
මම ඒ පිළිබඳව මට ඒ කතාව ප්‍රතික්ෂේප කරන්නත් බෑ. ඒ කතාව තහවුරු කරන්නත් බෑ.
කියන්නේ දැන් ඔබතුමා අතරමැදි තැනක ඉන්නේ.
ඒ කතාව තහවුරු කරන්නත් බෑ, ප්‍රතික්ෂේප කරන්නත් බෑ.
According to the information we have, what he said when I met with him yesterday was that he will have to accept the position. He's accepting this willingly. He is an experienced individual in the field. The Central Bank of Sri Lanka needs guidance to continue operations. At this time, we must effectively manage the country's finances and move forward. Therefore, it is highly likely that he will accept the position.
The Daily Mirror reported that State Minister Ajit Niwat Cabral had confirmed that he would take up the post of Governor of the Central Bank on the invitation of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa within the course of this week. The report on the Daily Mirror added that State Minister Niwat Cabral is reported to have sought the Governor post of the Central Bank with the cabinet status similar to countries such as China, Singapore and Vietnam.
Ajit Niwat Cabralට දැන් promotion එකක් දෙනවා.
Ajit Niwat Cabral is apparently going to be promoted. Professor Lakshman is being removed from his position after Cabral has destroyed his name as the State Minister of Money and his pension is sorted. Ajit Niwat Cabral, who severely affected the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation through the hedging agreement, and the individual who also invested in Greece when that country was collapsing, is going to become the governor of the central bank again. Ajit Niwat Cabral, who was accused of committing a number of bond scams through an audit firm from an independent international agency even before 2015, is going to become the governor of the central bank again. If this is the policy our country is going to follow, then may God bless our country.
මේකනම් මේ ආණ්ඩුවේ ප්‍රතිපත්තිය මේ රටේ මොනවා හරි දෙයක් ඉතුරු වෙලා තියෙනවා නම් ඉතුරු දේවල් වලටත් දෙයියන්ගෙම පිටයි.
විශ්‍රාම වැටුප වැඩි කරගන්න යනවායි කියලා ඇත්තම එහෙම කාරණයක් තියෙනවද ඔබතුමාගේ විශ්‍රාම වැටුප වැඩි කරගන්න?
මම මුලින්ම කියන්නට ඕනේ මම විශ්‍රාම වැටුප හැටියට සත්‍යයක්වත් අරන්නේ නැහැ.
Firstly, I would like to say that I have not even received 1 cent through my pension, not from this government nor any other government. I have not even purchased a duty-free vehicle. I am due to receive a pension. It is clearly stated in my letter of appointment. Even if I was given it, I have not obtained it yet.
මට ඒ වැනි දෙයක් හිමි වුණත් මම මේක අරගෙන නැහැ.
Water is a basic need for any form of life. But there are still people living here among us who suffer unimaginably due to the lack of clean drinking water. We receive reports of a group of such people in Mahagalwala, Hambantota.
The community water project in the village of Mahagalwewa in Hambantota used to provide water to about 800 families. But now, even though these people still get their water bill every month, the water they receive is not fit for consumption. The residents of this village point out that the purification process in this water project is not effective.
පිරිසු කරලා දෙන්නේ නැහැ. අර ටැංකි ගිහින් බැලුවොත් අපට අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම මිනිස්සුયો මේ මොකක්ද මේ වෙලා තියෙන්නේ කියලා හොයනවා. මේ ෆිල්ටරේ උඩ තියෙන මඩ මේක. දැන් මේක තාපට වතුර වලට කියලා දෙන්නේ. මේ රුපියලට හුස්ස කරන්නේ. පණිකරම මේ වතුර පිළි ගන්න. මේ පිරිසුදු කරනවා කියන්නේ මේ මනුස්සයට බොන්න දුන්නම මොනවයි මේ ලෙඩ වෙන්නේ.
As it was mentioned in your headlines for tonight, the Colombo Additional Magistrate has issued an order to release 13 tamed elephants taken into the custody by the Criminal Investigations Department to their original owners. These elephants were detained and placed under the care of the Department of National Zoological Gardens as evidence material following cases filed in court on investigations carried out in the past. The court order was made after submissions were made based on the gazette issued by the Minister of Wildlife and the advice of the Attorney General.
During the period of the Government of Good Governance, several tamed elephants held illegally were located. The Department of Wildlife, the Sri Lanka Police as well as the Criminal Investigations Department carried out investigations into these events and took measures to file cases in court. The elephants were placed at the Pinnavala Elephant Orphanage and the Elephant Transit Home in Udawalawe, which are under the Department of National Zoological Gardens. Presenting facts to the court recently, the OIC of the number 1 Investigations Unit of the CID requested the release of 13 elephants. The request was made as per the advice of the Attorney General and the gazette issued by the Minister of Wildlife dated 19th of August. Facts were presented to the courts claiming that the said gazette notes that measures have been taken to streamline the registration of tamed elephants and the registration is to be completed within 3 months. Pursuant to the submissions made by the Criminal Investigations Department, Colombo Additional Magistrate S. Prabhakaran issued an order to release 13 elephants taken into custody by the CID to their original owners. As per the court order, 3 elephants that were held at the Elephant Transit Home in Udawalawe for 6 years were released to their owners on Tuesday the 7th and Wednesday the 8th. In addition, 4 elephants held at the Pinnavala Elephant Orphanage since 2015 were also released on Tuesday, while 1 tamed elephant was released on Wednesday. There were extensive investigations that were carried out regarding these animals. There were audits on how these happened. Without considering any of these, it is illegal to release these animals by using a gazette that has retrospective effect. We condemn this. We ask that this process of releasing these animals be stopped.
What
should have been done if there was a defect in the case was to conclude the hearings of the case, or if the case was dismissed on preliminary objections, they should have acted according to the order issued by the court. But these steps taken to withdraw the case, we see them as an interference in the proceedings of the court. We believe that all these accused who have been arrested have the blood of these elephant calves of their mothers on their hands. These include members of both the governing and the opposition parties. We are amazed by the fact that the Attorney General had proposed for these animals to be handed over back to these accused.
The port trade unions convened a joint meeting to hold discussions about the future course of action that will be taken against the move to hand over land owned by the port to private sector.
The port trade unions convened today to express their opposition against handing over the 13-acre land owned by the Colombo port to CICT for the construction of a service provider centre. China owns majority shares of the CICT. 15 trade union representatives joined today's meeting.
I'm near
the gate number 1 of the port. This is next to the Chaitya road and this is the way to enter the CICT, SAGT and the WCT. The port city is next to this. These 13 acres are on the border of this. This is a very valuable plot of land. This is very valuable to the port. The value of this is immeasurable. They are hoping for an income of 850,000 from 1 acre. Where can you buy a land for this cheap anywhere in Colombo? This is the capital. There is no base payment. This is serious. There is an underhand deal here. We are ready to discuss this and we are ready to go beyond and fight for this. Many of our country's most valuable economic hubs are now owned by foreign countries or their partners. China owns a majority stake in the southern terminal of the Colombo port, and the neighboring port city is also a Chinese investment. The west terminal has been handed over to an Indian company. Many valuable lands in the city of Colombo have already been acquired by Chinese and Indian companies on a lease or sale basis, and their investment projects are operational. China owns a majority stake in the company that controls operations at the Hambantota port, and the Trincomalee port is currently the focus of India and the United States. The oil tank farm in Trincomalee is currently managed by an Indian company. China is planning to launch a power project on 3 northern islands, and India is involved in the development of the Palali airport. Thus, a number of important places in the country are now falling into the hands of foreign countries or their affiliates in various ways.
The ever-picturesque Sea of Sri Lanka, an eye-catching spectacle, is a blessing to my nation. Surrounding our mother with the protection of a father.
The Sea of Sri Lanka.
From a distance of 300 meters. The company that invented this machine points out that it can be used for tasks such as providing meals and medicine to COVID-19 patients. The machine is equipped with the necessary features to communicate with the patients through a camera attached to it. The machine has been named Teddy. Members of the company that invented the machine donated it to the Panadura Base Hospital. We leave you tonight with the footage of this machine. I have been Tharusha Kumar Singh along with our sign language interpreter for tonight, Brian De Cruz. Good night.